1-4 through the first 5 games. They showed some flashes. You look at that Tennessee game, unbelievable win.
Best football game I've ever been to in my life.
Wow. So
amazing.
There's a lot to, I think, address here. We can start with Zack Wilson because it's been, some rough bumps, some expected, some maybe worse than others. We'll start there at the quarterback position. Rookie Zack Wilson, just asking you, what have been kind of your thoughts on him so far?
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. First off, I really wish we were having more positive right now because I would totally break out a JETS chant on you, but unfortunately they're 1-4 and I can't really do that. Hopefully, later in the season we get some good momentum. I get back on here and entertain our listeners. Anyway, in terms of Zack Wilson, I'll get to the stuff on the field in a second. Off the field, he's been great. I mean, when I've been in the press conferences with him or when I'm watching them, whatever, remotely not there, he says all the right things. He knows how to deal with the New York media. He's shown that so far. He says the right things. His teammates seem to love him. I mean, look, obviously the quarterback's always going to usually be a captain, but the fact that he's a rookie and got voted as a captain, I think says a lot. So I've been impressed with that. I think he's poised. On the field, like I said, it's a mixed bag. The Titans, that second half against the Titans, that was the guy that he showed you why he was the number 2 pick in the draft. It was honestly potentially, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but then again, I've lived through some pretty bad eras of Jet football, so this wouldn't be like too absurd to say. The throws that he made in that second half, debatably the best throws I've ever seen a Jets quarterback made, which is more an indictment on the quarterbacks I've witnessed versus like Zach being that amazing. I mean, he's really good, but I mean, we're talking about like Geno, Sanchez, Fitz, Bryce Petty, Favre. Well, Favre was obviously good, but his shoulder was. I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, so Zach, he shows you those spurts, those moments, even in like the losses. Like when I was at the Patriots game, the home opener, he had obviously 4 interceptions, brutal day, but still he would make a couple throws down the stretch. You're like, that is the guy. Like if he can just do that more consistently, this is our guy. This is our quarterback. Look, I was a Sam Darnold defender. And now I'm not really because, to be honest, when he plays well, it makes the Jets look bad. So I kind of stopped. But the point is, like but I do think it was the right time to move on from Sam. And I think Zach has the ability, because I think Sam could have been good here if things went well and they didn't get Gase and all that. I think Zach has the ability to be, and then people have said it, so I don't think I'm being crazy when I'm saying this, just pure potential. He's got to capitalize on it. He has the ability to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback in this league, but it's up to him to do it. So, like I said, there have been moments that he's good. There have also been head-scratchingly bad moments. I mean, he looks like he has the yips out there sometimes, throwing the ball at the feet of his receivers, in the dirt, in the grass, like just hitting guys who are open, the missing guys who are open on the short to intermediate stuff. If you're going to be a great quarterback, you can't do that. I mean, it's one thing to hit the bombs, that's great, but you got to hit the short stuff. It honestly scared me because it reminds me of Christian Hackenberg, because I don't know if you remember, first of all, we never saw him play in a regular season game, but all the reports were about Hackenberg was that he couldn't hit the broad side of a barn, that he would always miss short intermediate throws. So to me, with the short stuff, that's all mental. And so, although like I said, I think Zach's poised, it concerns me that he's throwing like that in a game, because I start to worry about, is he getting anxious out there? Is he like getting nervous out there? Because that is not what you want to see from your quarterback. I want to believe, based on what I've heard from Zach, and I do think he's a baller and a gamer, and I think he's a leader. I would like to believe that he can overcome this, and he's mentally tough, and then he'll get through it. I will say though that like these, again, they're just, I don't know the way to say it, but the yips, like Chuck Knobloch out there, like just throwing it away. Those are a little concerning. But yeah, that was a very long Zack Wilson breakdown. Basically, it's just a mixed bag. Like I said, it's ups and downs. I'm not writing him off. I still think he can be great. There are just things you got to clean up. And we'll get more into other stuff with the Jets in a second. But I do think a lot of the struggles of Zach are not solely his fault. But we'll get on that in a second. But I want to hear your thoughts on Zach.
I completely agree. It's a lot of the same with the offensive line failing him, receivers dropping balls.
I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, he's like top 3 in the NFL in having his receivers drop passes.
Yeah, top 3 in drops. Is adjusted. I mean, I don't really care about his adjusted completion percentage, but it's like high 60s compared to the 57 which he's completing at. So obviously they're failing them, but that's something you need. Like we just saw the same thing with Sam Darnold, where he showed flashes and they weren't as special as these backyard throws that Zack Wilson's making. I think what we saw Zack Wilson do in that second half, you talked about it, the off-script ability from him is something we've never seen from a Jets quarterback in terms of pure talent. But then it would be the head-scratching moments with Sam, and then he got failed by his coaching staff and his offensive line. And so you just really hope it's not the same with Zack Wilson. You talked about getting antsy. The footwork, too, has been very questionable at times. Now, the good news is, as we kind of talked about, these are stuff you can clean up. Because you can't teach the, scrambling 10 yards out of the pocket, throwing it 50 yards down the field to Corey Davis for a touchdown. You can't teach that talent, but you can teach missing the screen, which he did versus the Falcons. You can't teach.
Oh, when he threw it in the Morgan Moses' head?
Yes. Yeah. You can teach some of those little things. Those can be cleaned up a little easier. And obviously the numbers are horrible. You didn't expect him to be lighting the world on fire statistically. And you're never going to look at the numbers when evaluating him with this roster. You just hope that the team doesn't ruin him. And that's my number one thing, because I do agree with a lot of things you said. The off-the-field stuff, I think that's important, because there was a lot of unfair criticism with him before the draft that even before he was a Jet, I was like, this is ridiculous. People were digging and digging and digging, trying to find anything. He wasn't
his
mom. He wasn't a captain to start the year.
Yeah, which was stupid.
It was so dumb. And the fact that people were ripping him on that, I thought, was super unfair. People also looked at it, there's a kid from Utah. He won't be able to handle New York. He's never faced the media or anything like that. I believe he said he'd never been to New York before he got drafted, and people looked at that as a reason to rip him. And I was so against all that, and I'm so glad that you're affirming that that's all garbage and that he's.
Oh yeah, I mean he came out in interviews and for that stupid college cap thing. It made perfect sense. Going into the season,
he wasn't a starter.
It was a quarterback competition. How can you vote for him as captain when you don't know if he's going to be your quarterback week 1? That makes no sense. And then he was made a captain later on.
Yeah.
And again, his Jet teammates all voted him captain. So, again, that is just stupid. But I just want to go off something you said about with Sam. You said with Sam, the reason why he didn't work here is because the coaching staff failed him.
Not only. But...
Well, a big part of it. And I do think also Sam let's be honest. I don't really think Sam lived up to the hype. I do think he had terrible offensive line, bad weapons. This is not the Sam Darnold retrospective, but I do think some of it is on him. My biggest concern, you said you can clean some of these things up, and I agree. The yips thing, I think, is more mental. Again, coach can only do so much for you. At the end of the day, you have to perform. Hopefully, at this bye week, you can kind of get away from it all, relax, and then get back into it this upcoming week. But in terms of coaching staff and not failing Zack this time, I'll admit I was excited when they hired Mike LaFleur, but I tweeted this when I was at the first half of the Titans game, and then obviously things turned around. But maybe it wasn't the best idea to give a rookie quarterback a rookie play caller. Now, look, I'm sure Mike knows this Shanahan system, which is what it is, because it started way back with Kyle Shanahan and his dad, and then obviously Matt LaFleur runs it in Green Bay, and now Mike has it. So I'm sure Mike knows the system in and out, but it's one thing to know it, and then it's another thing to be able to call the right plays in the game. And I think Mike, especially having faced some quality defensive minds in Vic Fangio, Bill Belichick, he's gotten exposed a little bit in terms of play calling, which is an issue. And to me, you talk about failing Zack, that's failing Zack right there. Giving Zack a rookie offensive coordinator. Now, maybe this will work out the long term. Maybe Mike will be able to get it going. He'll learn from his mistakes. Zack will learn from his mistakes. They can gel, and we can see more what we saw in the second half versus the Titans. But my biggest concern is, and I didn't really buy a lot of that garbage with, they didn't give him a veteran backup. Look, Josh Johnson is there. It's whatever. I mean, I think it's a little overblown. I mean, Justin Fields has a great veteran there, and Andy Dalton, and he's not playing great either. I really
Josh McCown didn't make Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I don't really buy that. But to me, the bigger thing is, because this actually matters in terms of Zack's playing, is the offensive coordinator. And I get Robert Saleh wants to bring in a guy that he knows too, but it might have been a better idea to go out and get a guy who's seasoned. They have, and I'm blanking on his name, so I apologize. The Jets brought in a guy who's a senior offensive assistant now, who was actually Mark Sanchez's quarterback coach, and he replaced the late Greg Knapp, who passed away obviously over the summer. And so he and this guy, I think it's Matt Cavanaugh. That's it. Excuse me, Matt Cavanaugh. Very experienced guy. I think Zack can lean on him a bit because he's been around forever, coached a lot of different people. He obviously knows coaching the Jets. I've dealt with Sanchez. He's been at OC at other places too. So he's like the veteran presence. But I don't know. Maybe they should have gotten a veteran offense coordinator because I think that would have also helped a little bit.
Yeah, the rookie combo of rookie coach, rookie quarterback, and rookie OC. I do think it's a little bit much. I would say for me, the thing I've been most disappointed by is the offensive play calling. I was really in on Mike LaFleur. Really,
I think everyone was.
Like, I thought, like, this is a guy, this was an insane overreaction, but I was like, hopefully we can have him for more than a year before he takes
you know what?
the head
And
coaching job.
that is insane, but I had the same thought. A lot of people did, because I was like, oh, great, now we have a good OC and he'll leave for a head coaching job, which is not going to happen now. But.
No. So, yeah, let's maybe shift to the other side of things with Robert Saleh, who maybe it was a really bad decision to bring in Mike LaFleur, but in terms of what he's done on the defensive side, I've been pretty impressed. I think last week versus the Falcons, maybe statistically wasn't their worst week, but I was pretty disappointed without Calvin Ridley, without Russell Gage. I thought that was a spot where your defense really could have shown up more. But we have seen the flashes. 7 sacks versus the Titans, and you're doing this without a lot of the guys that you thought you were going to lean on. Carl Lawson, obviously the number one. You brought him in to be the first Jets pass rusher of significance in like 5 years. Yeah.
5 years, I would go. He was going to be the biggest pass rush they had on the edge since Jonathan Abraham, to be honest.
Yeah, like and to
that's
lose
like 20 years ago.
To lose him for the year was just killer. You also Gerard Davis, you signed, played 0 snaps.
I think he's coming back this week. If I was not mistaken.
After the bye, he's supposed to come back. Vinny Curry out for the season. Health issues there. LaMarcus Joyner. All these guys non-factors.
I forgot LaMarcus Joyner was even on this team.
Yeah, like these guys that were supposed to be brought in and be significant pieces.
Marcus May.
Marcus May is now injured. He could be done as a Jet. Maybe we get into that in a minute here.
Yeah.
But they have really competed hard. Robert Saleh, like, we knew he could coach a good defense. We knew he could get the guys fired up. And so that's what I think I've been really in on Robert Saleh. I didn't think the win-losses would reflect how good of a job he did this year. And really, my support for him, like, it's kind of wavered for LaFleur. It hasn't really for Robert Saleh.